Hey guys, greetings and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Raven. I am CEO and founder of Seraphine Wellness and Beauty. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a wife, a mother. I have a whole lot to say about business and about life in general. For me, the spiritual journey, the entrepreneur journey is a spiritual journey, and I'm here to help fuse those two for people who struggle with like finances, with abundance, with manifestation, and are doing certain things and then they just aren't understanding why those pieces that they're trying to do are not clicking into place, so that we can kind of like take the whole thing as a whole and find a way to blend it together, because a lot of times that's one of the blocks that people go through. And then also I'm here to just learn and grow with you and explore and talk about my journey in entrepreneurship and what it is. The money journey for me has been like quite a ride. And if you notice from my channel, the last time I posted a video on my channel has been quite a few years. So I am back and I'm here with even more information, even more stuff to say. So what I did, I collected, my team collected a bunch of questions for me from people who have asked me over, the past year, like what kind of things that I go through in business, what kind of things, what kind of wisdom have I taken from it. So I have a little collection of questions here, and what I decided to do was to randomly pull out a question every week, and I'm just going to have a little discussion about it and talk to you guys. And you guys can jump in the comments, let me know what you think, let me know if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about it, if it's something that you've done already, like if you've tried it and you just gave up because it was just like a way crazier path than you realized, let me know. So here we go, let's jump in. So the first question that I pulled out of here today is, how do you personally define wealth at this stage of your life? Okay. Oof. I have this habit of saying like, that's such a great question, because all the questions I get, I love the ability to be able to think deeply into things and feel where the questions touch me, so it's like really, I don't know, it's just special. It's just special to have the opportunity to kind of like review these things and to reflect on these things and see like what has actually happened in along the ride. I personally define wealth. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, so I'm going to reintroduce myself. For anybody who hasn't been keeping up with my journey, like on Instagram or on TikTok, I started my money journey in 2018. And there's a podcast called Raw Success, and I just, the episode I was in just aired, and I think it's a great episode because it was like a while from the time that I recorded it, from the time that I actually got to see it, and when I went back, I was like, wow, I've grown so much, like so many things have changed for me since this episode. But I also had the chance to go back and talk about like where I even started, like what got me started. I've always had that calling, that drive to give something to the world. Like that's just, I came here to like do something and give something and to fully like understand myself and to be my authentic self in the world. And it's this constant process of like shedding and understanding and releasing and growing and adding more, and and then recycling that out and removing and starting all over again. And so in 2018, my daughters and I went through like a really difficult situation. I was like very ill. I had 13 lesions in my brain. They are like, call them tumors, lesions. And I had these lesions in my brain, and I was having severe migraines. So for like maybe 6 or 8 months, I can't even remember now, I just wasn't able to work. So I was living off government assistance. I was like living off our savings, and as things started to run out, I was, like really, like I was working on myself at the same time to try to get well, but there was like so much, there was only so much I could do. So my older daughter was 17 at the time, and she got a job, and so that she could, help pay the bills and things like that. And that was a tough thing for me too, because I've always been against like forcing your kids into the workplace early, or forcing them to work because it's necessary, because those things download into our nervous system. The way you're raised, the things you think about money, the things your parents thought about money, the things your neighbors and your friends and your parents' friends thought about money, how they react and respond and discuss money, all those things download into you. And I was like really intentional through all my life, that I really wanted, through all of my children's lives anyway, that I always wanted them to have a better, just a better like connection to money. I wanted them to see money as something that was like not bad or evil or a struggle or something that humble people don't have, and stuff like that. I wanted them to understand that money is a tool, that money is special and everything. And but it unfortunately it didn't like align with a lot of the struggles that we went through. As a single mother living in the US, this society just is not designed to care for people who are living on their own. It's designed for people who work together in communities and groups, whether that's in a marriage or a long-term partnership, or whether that's people who pair up in roommates in a house together. The society here just is not designed so that if you're a single person in a single unit, that you're going to win financially. Like you have to beat like some really incredible odds in order to do that, or start out with with a higher standard than what I went through. So anyway, all that is to say, so I already felt bad that I had to rely on my daughter to go into that space. But so she's working a gap, nothing's happening, nothing's moving the needle for the the amount of bills that we have to pay. We have a 3-bedroom house. It just wasn't working. And so she started selling weed. And regardless of what your thoughts are on that, whether it's good or not, anyway, it's legal in Florida. A lot of people use it. It's a plant. I personally, it's not my thing. I don't like it, but I don't have anything for or against it. It's something that I don't like when people get use things as a crutch. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. I'll save that for a whole other day. But anyhow, when you can imagine the level of desperation that we were at that point where she started doing that. So she's selling like dime bags, which is like I don't know, I think it's still a $10 bag at this point in our currency of of that world. And somehow somebody else that she knew who was selling as well, they ended up like getting caught by the police. So the police asked, what do you know? Who else do you know? And they threw her name in, basically snitched on her. And then they helped to arrange a situation where she was selling an amount to an undercover officer. And so she went from selling just like dime bags to this like quantity. I think it was like an ounce. And she sold this ounce to this undercover. And of course that was, that got her arrested. And then it's over like whatever amount is the whatever their legal amount is. So it made a big deal. So it wasn't like, selling $10 worth, it was like over the amount to be, something like that. It was serious at that point. So somehow because of that, even though it was like an ounce, which is still crazy to me, they orchestrated a raid on our home. And one Saturday morning, after I had gone through so much healing work of my own, just to be able to stand up and be able to go back to work, because we were literally like running out of money. We were like out of money at that point. Like there was like no other way than to get up, take painkillers, and just find a job and just go back into the workforce. So I leave for work on this one Saturday morning. It's like 6:00 in the morning. It's an hour drive, and 10 minutes into the drive, I get this frantic call from home, and the police raided our house with a military tank. They rolled up onto our front lawn in our quiet Kissimmee neighborhood, and jumped out with 9 SWAT guards, fully armed, helmets, like full SWAT gear. And they threw smoke bombs into the house. They shot AK-47 bullets at the house. They pulled my daughter out the front door, dragged her out, put her on her, face down on the ground, and had AK-47s in her back. And my other daughter was in the back room. She was in my room at the time. Actually, she was sleeping in a bed in my room. And they smashed out my window, threw smoke bombs into the room and shot a bullet into the bed. And when she heard this like commotion, she woke up and she kind of like got freaked out and ran into my bathroom and hid in the shower, and locked the bathroom door, hid in the shower. So if things had been orchestrated differently, if the timing had been different, then the moment that she jumped up or anything like that, then that bullet would have hit her. And so, it just, the violence that we experienced over the situation was like unfathomable. Like it was like unfathomable to go through something like that. And especially, we weren't doing anything to try to get like, we weren't trying to be these kingpins. We weren't trying to be, go like to, have money and yachts and things like that. We were literally trying to pay rent. We were trying to pay rent and keep the lights on. Like, so the fact that we were met with such violence from the law over something like that, instead of compassion, assistance, anything like that, it was just like, it was so crazy. And so that was like, everybody has that rock bottom, that dark day, that bad place where they go to, and they can remember that that is the moment when everything changes for them. And sitting on the front lawn, so I had to I turned around and came right back home when I got the call. And they lined us all up on the front lawn. So we were sitting on the front lawn, handcuffed behind our back, while they destroyed our home. They ripped everything from top to bottom. They ripped the walls, they ripped ceilings. I don't know what it was that they thought that they were going to find. So these 9 SWAT guards who were searching our house with these AK-47s and everything, in the end, they found a half a gram. That's enough to put in one joint, for anybody who's like not, savvy in that world. One joint. That's how much they found after ripping our entire house apart, while we sat on the front lawn, while neighbors came outside looking at us, while it looked like we were, these hideous criminals. Like, it was so terrible. And sitting there with this utter powerlessness, utter and complete and total powerlessness. That was my rock bottom moment, when I realized, like, I will never, ever allow my daughters to go through this again, my daughters and myself. Like, if this is what we have to, like, if this is the cost of being poor, then I don't want to be, like, I don't want to be anywhere near, I didn't want to be poor anyway, but like, I can't endure this. I can't endure this powerlessness. It was so, so terrible. Like, I can't even describe. So, after that, so long story short, trying to like condense this as much as possible so I can get to today, to the now. But we decided at that point that obviously my daughter got arrested, taken away, taken to jail. And the options were basically find her an amazing lawyer and pay like a good, whatever that cost, or renew our lease. Like, it was like right coming up for our lease to be renewed. So it was like, renew your lease or like get a good lawyer. And so of course I decided to get her the best lawyer possible. And so by not renewing the lease, we didn't have anywhere to live. So I had to send my daughters to go live with family members. I lived with my mom, and it was like crazy. So to go from like, I wasn't even fully healed yet. I was still struggling. I was still like, so just damaged from the whole experience of like going through my health crisis. When they found these 13 lesions in my brain, they thought that either that they were going to become like these tumors and spread. Well, they called them tumors, so they were like lesions, tumors, but they said that like, until we know what they are, like, they could spread through your body, you could die, they could spread down your spinal cord, you could develop multiple sclerosis. And I don't want to go into all the medical of it, now, but that's what I was, told at the time. So like, I had no idea what direction my health was going to take. So to stand back up from that, and to have to still go out and still continue to provide and everything, it was just such a struggle. It was such a painful time of our lives. Like, it was just like struggle after struggle. It was like one after another. I'm so grateful that I have like a healthy, safe, good family, who, like, when things do get difficult, that like I've been able to lean on them. Like, so grateful for that, because a lot of people don't have that. And then what happens, what happens to people when there's nobody who can help you, it's just awful. So moved back into with my mom, and I have no plan, I have no anything at that moment. All I know is like, I'm never going to allow this to be our lives ever again. So during the time when I had been ill, like I was like completely, I couldn't listen to loud noises. I couldn't turn on the lights. It was really painful to have light on. Anybody who has migraines, you absolutely know what that feels like. And I just was like I just didn't even know where to begin. Like I was like, okay, I need to get like what am I doing? For I obviously I lost my job. I lost or no, actually no, I hadn't lost that job. I was still continuing to argue with them about pay. But anyhow, that's another piece of a small piece of the story too. But I like decided at that time that there was something else I needed to do because the amount of money I was getting paid at the job was horrible. I was like begging for a raise that was just like livable wage, like just livable, like a one woman with two daughters, just a livable wage for the three of us to survive on. And they were refusing. I had like meeting after meeting with HR and just all this stuff. And I just realized like, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been. I hate working for other people. I'm a terrible employee. I'm a good employee when I have to and when people are relying on me, but I hate working for other people. Like I hate it. I hate not being able to be creative. I hate not being able to have some input in what's going on in the process of like how business is being done. Um, and I enjoy being able to be my full self, in a workspace. And so I just knew that whatever I did, it couldn't just be like, okay, go dust yourself off, go get another job, and stand up all day. I had been standing up. I was standing up with these brain tumors. I'm standing up at a front desk. I have a degree in hospitality management, so I was standing up. I was working in a hotel, in a resort, and I'm standing up at a front desk for like 9 hours a shift with a little 30-minute lunch break, and um, getting severe migraines still and having to fight through the pain to have people like I don't have enough towels in my room or whatever like that's their holiday experience, and I had to pretend everything was okay inside me and continue to stand there all day, and it was just like agonizing. So I didn't want to go back to that. And so I got an opportunity. Somebody asked me if I knew where they could get a website. Oh, no. Actually, no, there was something before that. Okay, this was all a sequence. So first it was like the whole mindset switch. Like that's what I realized. Like I was like adamant. Like I will never ever live like this again. I will never put my daughters through any situation like this. So what do I do? Like in the healing process was the first part. Like gathering myself back to myself was the first part of the process. So I'm a certified yoga instructor. I've written some books, and so I had like stacks of books that hadn't sold. So I had like maybe I don't know, maybe like 11 books. I just went on Facebook Live, and I just started doing yoga on Facebook Live. Like I think at first I did it on just regular live, and then I like created a group, as the momentum grew. But during that time when I had the brain tumors, when I was like in the dark and I couldn't like have the lights on, I couldn't have loud sounds, I would just have Tony Robbins playing, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher playing, just having these like affirmation energy, these people who like this self-help, like it was like I had never heard of them before. I just came across them, spirit guided them to me to them, while I was ill. And just hearing their life affirming stories, these stories of affirmation, motivation, got me up and got me going. And I remember as I was at my mom's house and I was being kind of, goaded into like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what's your plan? And I had no plan, but I knew that I needed to invoke the law of attraction. I needed to invoke this energy that I had been like laying there and listening to over and over and over. Like if it worked for them, it took them from like their, previous situations into being this like these huge people in the world who have so much to give, who have so much light. And I just wanted to reach for my light again. And so one of the things that I remember Tony Robbins saying was that in the beginning, he would give it away. And it made sense to me, when you really trust in the universe to take care of you, you're comfortable like giving away, and so before I knew what I was going to do for the literal next dollar, I just got on like Facebook Live and was like, hey guys, I'm just going to lead you through a yoga class today. Maybe this will help somebody. Like, I need this for me because I'm in the middle of a reset for myself. So maybe this will help some of you guys too. And I just started doing yoga every day. And I just committed to doing it every day, which is yoga class, free yoga class, just jump on live with me and join me. And then some people would ask about like, wow, how did you learn this yoga? What did you do? And I love the things you're talking about. I'm like, oh, I've written these books. And I just started giving the books away. I gave away all 11 books, or however many I had at that point. And it was like, it really did, like, this trust and faith that I was rebuilding in myself, like, actually started creating momentum. And so people were joining me and coming on the lives. And then people were like, no, this is crazy that you're just like giving away an hour of yoga here. Like, you need to tell me where can I send you money? Like, I'm going to send you something. Like, this was so beneficial for me to just jump on here today and actually get to go through this with you, that like, I feel like I want to give you something. And it just started to be person after person after person. And people would like give me things, and then people were ordering the books. And so like slowly it started building up momentum. And one of the people who joined in one of the live yogas that I did knew somebody who was looking for a website. And so she messaged me one day and just asked me like, hey, do you happen to do you know anybody who does, like web design? Because, I know that, the sister that I know needs to get this done. And I was like, well, actually, I used to, do graphic design. And so, I can have a shot at it. Like, I'll give it a try. And so this woman hired me to do her website. And I did the website. It took me 5 days to complete the website. And in those 5 days, 5 hours in total, because I was still like limited, by my energy and my health. I was limited by how much I could work per day, but it took me a couple hours a day, maybe 1 to 2 hours a day, for 5 days. And I gave her the website, and she paid me, and I got as much in that very first website that I had gotten in a 40-hour work week when I was working at my job. And it like clicked. It finally clicked. Like, I am really doing this. Like, I'm really onto something. This is really happening. Like I'm watching the law of attraction. I'm watching these like laws of physics. I'm watching them unfold right in front of me. Like, the things I'm doing are working. It's not working fast, but it's working. I was watching the momentum build. And I just continued like that. And so like, I just absolutely was like, no, I will never go back to a job, like never. There's no way I will ever stand in front of somebody and beg for a vacation or beg for an extra $1 an hour, when I have all these creative abilities inside of me, and have the ability to, like, all I need to do is connect with people and find my way there. So, so flash forward, so all these years, so like, I basically have just built over the years, like, built my reality off of my creativity, just using the different skills that I have, teaching people different things that I've learned along the way. I was a super nerd. Like, I'm still such a nerd. I am a total science nerd. I love studying biology and physics and astronomy and all sorts of things, but I'm also extremely metaphysical. So I'm into, spirit realm. I'm a priestess as well. And so I just put together everything, and by just pouring out like who I am, I would constantly just connect with people. And I continue to just connect with people who there's something that they need that I can serve in some way, and I'm able to provide, things I need, and so continue an income going. So all this time later, so now, after, besides doing like web design and doing graphic design and doing different things on the side, I eventually started making really good money, especially during the pandemic. Started like really, really like, health and wellness is my thing. So it's always been my thing since teenager. I was like telling people about, our teeth and our intestines and what kind of diet we're, physiologically built for and whatnot. And so health and wellness, I was really connecting with that. So I started like doing more life coach work. I started connecting with people doing health coach work, and just connecting to help people heal. Just, there's so much stuff in this world that we need to heal from. There's so much going on. Like, we need so much help. And I was, especially during the pandemic, all these people who had really kind of like never really thought about health in their lives, all of a sudden were we're like forced to think about health, forced to think about like what's going on, what is the government, have we been lied to? And that was like perfect timing for me, because as a person who'd been studying health for like decades, I had so many answers. I have hundreds and hundreds of books, like in my personal collection, hundreds and hundreds, like maybe, I don't even know, I can't even count them, 800, I had well over 1,000 books at some point, but I lost a few along the way. But anyhow, so many of the books are about, the health and wellness and things like that. So I was able to kind of like, capitalize on that wealth of knowledge that I had right at a time when people really had so many questions and they weren't getting real answers from any other source or from many other sources. And so I did very well for myself during that time. Went from there into, I started actually launched Airbnbs. So I started like running Airbnbs. I had 3 Airbnbs in total. Adding on to the Airbnbs, then I added on a Turo business. So I was doing luxury car rental. So I had like Airbnbs, luxury car rental. I was doing like a whole vacation. So to go from standing at a front desk making whatever couple of dollars an hour to actually creating my own hotel business, some tiny little, but it was just really, really powerful. It was such an incredible journey for me to be able to do that, to make that massive switch, to make that change, and to continue to progress and to continue to open to abundance in all the ways that it was showing up for me in my life. And then the Airbnb is the Turo. So we had that business. I got married in 2021, the end of 2021. And then my husband and I built, we did the Airbnbs together. And then I helped him exit his job that he had been working in for many years, like many, many years. And to do the exact same thing he was doing, but by doing it through his own company, instead of getting the hourly, wage that the company kicks down to him, he was getting the total amount made off each sale. And so obviously, that like, more than 10x, that like 100x his income. And so we were just doing really, really well, like just doing like phenomenal. So 2022 was like a phenomenal year for me. It was like, we were so good. That was the year that we hit like our first million. We were making like $90,000 a month. It was like just hand over fist, just the joy and living and alive and this aliveness. And it was crazy to come from 2018 when I was sick in bed, desperate and afraid that I was going to die, to literally 3 years later, and then 4 years later. So like 3 years later, I met somebody, I got married, and then the next year after that, with still continuing to build on all the businesses that I was doing, on all this entrepreneur energy and all this manifestation, law of attraction energy, was able to bring my husband into that world as well. And so we were doing incredibly well. It was just beautiful. It was just such a beautiful time traveling and enjoying life and just enjoying togetherness and life. And so we went from there together. We took off into the next level of our things together. So I decided, well, I had been hearing about these. Well, I had been involved in real estate. So like one of my goals was always to go out, to branch out from Airbnb and actually go and start investing in real estate, doing house flips and things. I love interior design. That's one of my passions as well. And so I hired a business coach, but when I hired this coach, I was actually just learning about how to buy a business and how you can, rather than getting a business, having a business idea and building it from scratch and building it from the ground up, you could actually go to somebody who already had a business, an established running business, and you could do your due diligence process with their business to make sure that it was like running properly, to make sure that the finances were in order, to connect with the employees, make sure that was all running smoothly, and you could purchase the business that they were trying to sell. There's a lot of people out here who are retiring. Some people just, have personal reasons that they just don't want a business anymore. And there are a lot of businesses for sale. There's loads of businesses for sale right now. There's a huge wealth transfer happening in our lives right now, circa 2020, 2021, 22, up to 2026, current time of this video. And we have the opportunity to reach wealth and in numbers and in ways that we would have never thought of before. The internet has absolutely exploded. The fact that kids can unbox toys on YouTube and make $1 million a year from that. Like we live in a phenomenal time for living our gifts into reality. And that's one of the things that I always, all my life, had always been about, like, live your gifts, be yourself, be who you are, be who you came to be. Money shouldn't be an object. And money shouldn't be an object, but it's a fantasy for us to still be rebelling against money as though money is the problem, or as though we can't get money. There's too many ways to get money now. Money is an incredible means of exchange. It's an amazing tool. And if we accept the tool that it is and we allow it, then money can change how the flow of our destiny goes. It can change our options, change our reality, change how we interact with our family. When people are sick and tired and sad and stressed out, there are people passing away from illnesses that money can solve. There are people going through marital problems that if finances or those type of stresses were removed, they wouldn't have those type of issues. So there's just like so many ways that this is like such a gift to be able to have lived this journey and to be able to share the kind of things that have come across and that have come up throughout the journey. And so, welcome back to my channel after my 5-year hiatus from posting videos. And every week, I think twice a week, I'm going to start, sharing posts here because I have my full jar of questions to get through. I'll be sharing stuff on Instagram and on TikTok as well. But I am really excited to be with you guys. I'm really excited to share the journey and like what it has been, because there's so many people, like what happened with me when I learned about Airbnbs, when I learned about Turo. I learned all this stuff off YouTube. I literally learned just from watching YouTube videos. And then when people saw that, oh wow, people are watching, and then all of a sudden there was like the course for this and the course for that, and you can make this, you can make $1 million in a month, and there's so much. They make it look so easy. And I'm a super gullible person. I just always have been. I'm that's something we're still working through, still learning my way through. If somebody's like, yeah, you can make $1 million tomorrow doing this, I would be like, well, how? What do I got to do? And so I would stumble into a lot of things and learn the hard way. Oh, okay, you forgot to tell me about this. I didn't even know to ask about that. So what I want to do on this channel is to actually start to break down the process, the real process of certain things. So I want to cut through the hype, cut through the noise, and actually help you build a business if that's what you want. Build a business or be better at the business that the business of being you, whether that's in a job that you're working in that you're happy at, or whether you need an additional income on the side, whether you're looking to completely switch off assisting somebody else in their entrepreneur journey by being an employee, and you're ready to take a step and be that yourself, so that instead of just getting all this hype, I'm not here to sell you anything. Instead of all the hype, instead of all the noise, you can actually hear, like, what is this really like? What does this entail? What's going to happen to me? Like, what is my, I'm going to talk about what marriage really looks like when you're running a business together. I'm going to talk about what, as a woman, as a grown woman, like, what does that do for your body? Having to be in a leadership position all day, making quick, high risk decisions. What does it do for you? All of these things are just things that people don't talk about. Nobody's talking about, like, what happens to your hormonal cycle as a woman when you're having to make high risk decisions all day long, things like that. And so here we are. I'm the CEO of and founder of Seraphine Wellness and Beauty in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is a massive 11 treatment room, 3,400 square foot wellness and beauty space where we have we have a nail salon, we have a Japanese head spa, we do facials, we do IV vitamin drips. I have to run down them room by room because there's so much, but it's about health and wellness and beauty. And as having stepped into that world and actually feeling, what does it feel like? So like having 12 employees, making split-second decisions, deciding what's the best for the company, knowing when to, after learning my way through business and learning to buy, businesses, we bought this business, and And then, so the process of what does it take to buy a business? What does it take to maintain a business? What things that I wish I had known when I bought the business that you really absolutely should know, because you're going to have a really tough ride if you don't know these things. All of that type of stuff. I want to talk about all of those things on this channel going forward. And so once again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for tuning in, and have a look at this video next, and you can follow my journey. One of these, wherever it is on the side of that. Take care. Have an amazing day.